how to decrease social anxiety and increase interpersonal charisma, all in the same conversational strategy. All of us project ourselves out into the world. Everything we perceive is an internally generated hallucination. The things we see, according to research, 50% of the stuff we see is produced inside of our brain. We're not continuously measuring and perceiving the world around us. All the sounds that we hear are internal hallucinations, a manifestation of our eardrums and the sounds and the electrical signals that they get transformed into inside of our brain. And when we perceive other people, we perceive them through a projection of ourselves onto them. So when someone perceives somebody else as being very, very charismatic, it's not that the charismatic person has some kind of measurable charisma energy that's radiating onto everybody. It's the person sees this person, and for whatever reason, the person that is perceiving this person as charismatic is projecting something onto them that makes it seem like they're being charismatic, but it's really a projection from this person onto this person. For example, there was a famous case 25 years ago about this guy who killed his wife. And then he disappeared, and the cops were looking for him, and he maintained his innocence. And they finally caught him, and he finally confessed, and he went to trial. And this was a good-looking guy. And they interviewed one of the jurors when she saw him for the first time. And this was her very first experience of him. She didn't interact with him. She just watched him walk into the courtroom. And she said, wow, he was so charismatic. You can't interpret someone as being charismatic when you just see them walk across the room unless you're projecting all kinds of stuff onto them. And this is how charisma works. So how can you leverage this function of human nature? How can you leverage the internal projection onto the world function of human nature? Well, understand that we have this prime directive, but on top of this prime directive, we have two layers of oppression. The prime directive of all humans is to express ourselves in a way that our ideas will receive social validation, social recognition, social approval, and hopefully high status. We are all driven to do this by evolution. Everybody has this story they need to share about themselves. Everybody has these ideas they are desperate to share about themselves to get recognition in exchange. The problem is we all have two phases, two layers of oppression on top of that. The first comes when we're children. When we're about 1 or 2 years old, or when we can start to move around and interpret our environment, our brain shifts into data collection mode. And when our brain is in data collection mode, we're grabbing stuff, we're exploring stuff. And if you're a parent, this is terribly frustrating. And so everybody has the experience as a kid of expressing a desire and being told no, expressing a desire and being told no, expressing a desire and being told no. And this hammers down our sense of expression. Then later when we're adults and we mingle with other adults and we start to share this part about ourselves, our instinct is kicking in and we're talking conversationally about ourselves. We have an idea, we want to share it with other people. As soon as we start to do that, other people do the same thing back to us. And so this comes up with this two layers of I want to express myself, I want to express my desires, but the world is going to force against me and make me bottle that back up again. And so the people that are truly outgoing and truly charismatic and truly expressive and truly articulate are the ones that make it through both these layers. Now the trick is, how do you talk to someone who is not the super charismatic person so that you can be perceived as being charismatic? Well, the idea comes from a metaphor that they get from transformational grammar. We have this deep structure and we have this surface structure. And the surface structure is metaphorically the stuff that we talk about, the words that we use to describe what's inside our deep structure. And our deep structure is very, very complex, very, very intense, very, very imaginative, very, very emotional. But for most people, our surface structure is very, very almost superficial. It's a very, very inarticulate way to describe our deep structure. And so the trick is to see other people And don't use the natural go-to social engagement method. For most people, the natural go-to social engagement method is based on our instinctive drive is to go over and share something about ourselves and hopefully get validation and response, to hopefully get acceptance and approval and response. Instead, turn that part of you off. Understand this part of your nature can be outframed by the long game rather than the short game. And instead of going over there and hopefully expressing yourself and getting approval, go over there to talk to someone, or have the model in your mind whenever you're going to talk to someone is that you are looking for treasure inside of them. You are looking for the things that they like about themselves, that they see as their purpose in life, their things in life they want to share with other people, their unique story, their unique perspective, and get them talking and be curious about what's inside them. See yourself as a treasure hunter, because everybody beneath these two layers of social expression, oppression, has treasure on the inside of them. And so when you see yourself as a treasure hunter and you walk over there and you have the mindset of, I want to find your treasure and get them talking, you're looking for these surface structure trance phrases. These surface structure trance phrases that are short phrases or statements that describe their inner treasure as defined by them, not by you, but by them. So get them talking. Find about what's important to them. Find out about what they want in life. Find out the things they think about themselves that are special, that are different than everybody else. Find out how they truly see themselves compared to everybody else in the world. Now, when you do this, it might seem a little awkward at first because you have to start the conversation. You have to get the conversation going. But here's a good way to do that. You walk over there and you say, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you, but you remind me of somebody, and I'm not sure why. You remind me of somebody that was very, very widely respected by their peers, very much admired by their peers, and I'm not sure why. Would you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Because that's the Holy Grail. That is the prime directive, to express ourselves so we can be admired by other people, so we can be respected by other people. So if you walk over there and say, you remind me of somebody that was highly respected by their peers, that was much admired by their peers, they're going to wonder why. They're going to be, maybe I'm like them, maybe I can be highly expected. And you're tapping their deep drive, their deep instinctive drive to express themselves in a way that gets that validation. So just start off like that. Walk over and say, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but you remind me of somebody that was highly respected by their peers, that was highly admired by their peers, and I'm not sure why. Would you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? And they will probably say yes, because they'll be curious, because they'll be hoping that you will see them as somebody that has high status, because everybody has this deep drive to do things so that we can be recognized and get that high status. And just ask them some questions. What is it that is special about you? What would your friends say that are your best traits? If you were to become famous in the future, what would you be famous for? What would your closest friends say are your best, most cherished, most admired personality traits? And just ask questions that go on a seek and find mission of the treasure inside, and get them talking, and ask follow-up questions, and look for those few short trance phrases that exist on the surface level structure of their communication that represent these deep structure ideas that they absolutely love about themselves. Because when you find these surface structure phrases, these surface structure trance phrases that represent these deep treasure ideas, these serve as anchors. When they say these words up here, they fire off this anchor for this deep treasure idea that they love about themselves. And if you repeat these same exact surface structure phrases, it will trigger those same anchors. So they will have the experience of seeing you and seeing your face and hearing your voice say their surface structure phrases, which trigger these deep anchors. They're these anchors of treasure. They will project that onto you, and they will see you as being extremely charismatic. Now, how do you ease into doing this? Well, go somewhere in public and just people watch, and just allow yourself to imagine, what is it about them that they love about themselves? What is their story? What one thing about themselves would they love to share with other people that will get them status and recognition? What is their treasure? What might their trance phrases be? Those surface structure level, those surface level linguistic phrases that are anchors for that deep treasure. What is it about about those people. And then once you try this a few times, once you approach somebody a few times and start off by saying, look, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you remind me of someone that was highly respected and admired by their peers, but I'm not sure why. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions? And you see how easy it is to make people light up by looking for their treasure. This will get rid of social anxiety, and this will help you be perceived as massive charisma, of someone that has massive charisma. It will take a few times to practice this in public, to train your brain to see other people, to wonder what their treasure is. It'll take maybe a couple of times to start a conversation with a stranger, to see how easy it is, to see how good you can make people feel, and this will completely shift how you view social conversations. It will get rid of social anxiety, and it will make you be perceived as a massively charismatic person. If you'd like to learn more about how to do this, check out the links below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.